Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Hopefully, everyone is doing okay. We're going to be talking about the situation with tariffs, and we're also going to be discussing where the market might see some sort of bottom or just see some sort of relief. So, we will discuss the indexes and we will talk about just the state of the market currently. So, obviously, we are free falling, right? I don't think any of you need to be convinced of that. So there are a couple of shorts that I've signaled, but there's some longs right now that are absolutely being pummeled. Mainly Nvidia. Nvidia is probably the biggest of all of these. So I called out 105 on Nvidia a couple of days ago, a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to stick to 105, not because I think Nvidia is a bad company. I'm not. I don't think that at all. But we don't seem like we will be holding these levels for much longer. So hopefully you guys can see my chart right here on my new setup. So what we're looking at right now for at least the short term, does everyone see that? The $105 level. Here off to the other side of my screen, you guys are just looking at SPY, Qs, IWM, AMD, Google. You guys see a couple things on your chart there. Let me just change this. This should actually be Microsoft. MSFT. Okay. So I'm seeing about 105 on Nvidia, and lowest point that I'm envisioning right now is going to bring us to about 98. Okay, that's what I'm realistically seeing for right now. I'm going to show you where the I'm going to share with you some of the voodoo lines right now on Nvidia. So if you don't know what voodoo lines are, they're just basic support and resistance zones. So we'll talk about that and discuss that. Let's look here on the daily time frame. We're coming up on a pretty significant voodoo line right here. This is known as a snow line. So snow line is just a support, right? So 114, this is actually late data because right now Nvidia is trading at 109. So let's refresh that. Let's go back here. And let's check out not ES, but Nvidia right now on the shorter time frames. So this is the 2 hour. We're obviously below a snow line. Our fire line is basically at 99. Okay, so 99 is going to be our level. So I just outlined 98. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I did signal and I did take 2 shorts on Nvidia. I wasn't convinced because I got caught in a bull trap right here. So this bull trap was bullshit, is what it was. But anyway, I do have some shorts on, but they're not on Nvidia right now. I am interested in Nvidia. I'm telling you, close to about $100. I'm going to start thinking about building a position in Nvidia to start off. Okay. So those are my comments for the short term. We already knew tariffs were going to happen, right? There are a couple people that were saying, no, he's going to roll it back another 30 days. He already did that. So tariffs were going to happen. No matter what you thought, they were going to happen. So the market is reacting extremely negatively to that. The reason why it's not that hard, this puts the Fed mandate and this puts everything that the Fed has been doing under a microscope. So the anticipation is that the Feds will not be rolling back interest rates, which if you look at interest rates now, they're moving up, all right? And that's to abstract a little bit of the understanding here for you newer traders. Basically what that means, without being overly technical, it just means that the market for the short term, especially tech, is going to hurt. And it definitely is hurting. Let's go here to SPY. I really hope you guys can see my chart a little bit better with my new setup. But let's check out SPY on the 30-minute. What do we have in terms of support? We have 580. Okay, 580 is support all day long. Do we hold 580? Well, let's see exactly how low we can take this. So just doing a little bit of technical analysis. Technical analysis is not going to help us. We have to know how to read. We have to know how to read market internals. I say this all the time. Technical analysis is only 50, 60% of the analysis that you should be doing, right? It never is the full story. The full story right now is how the Asian market, how Europe, how they're reacting to the tariff situation. Okay. That's the story, and that's where the analysis needs to go. So as far as technical levels, what that translates to me to about 570. We were trading at anywhere between 23 to 26 times earnings on SPY. So that valuation is already pretty rich in premium. We usually start reverting off of 16 to 18 times earnings on SPY. So historically speaking, on that daily time frame, if you draw a trend line is not going to help you. Trend line is going to be ridiculous for us to stick with the mandate of a trend line. This is about where we bounce, right? If you're just looking at trend lines, but that's ridiculous. I'm saying close to about 570, you have an evaluation closer to about 19, maybe even 18 times earnings if you do the backwards calculation. All right, so that's what specifically you're looking for. There is, if you guys don't know what dark pool data is, dark pool data are just information or orders that larger institutions want to conceal, right? So they don't want you to know who's taking those trades. I'm going to go over dark pool data here for today's session. I want to make sure that you guys understand just what dark pool data ultimately is. It's about concealing your intentions with a whole bunch of capital. When I'm coming into just looking at where the larger orders are, I'm trying to look for large orders and large prints on the indexes, right? That's what we all want to know. What's the bottom? When do I buy in? When do I dollar cost average? Yes, my portfolio is falling, but I got some money here off to the side and I want to get some better prices. These are things that you guys should be thinking about. So specifically let's go over all the indexes because I'm interested in dollar cost averaging as well, despite the fact that all of us are down on our portfolios. This is SPY. So overhead resistance on SPY, I'm not sure if you guys can see this on your screen, but overhead resistance is between $584 all the way up to $610. That's easy. Check out the dark pool sentiment that we have seen in the last 10 to 15 days. They have been, I call this a ramp up, right? They've been accumulating. So you have been seeing block trade sentiments come in, but you didn't really see aggressive sentiment come in on the 3rd of March, right? What am I saying with that? I don't know exactly where the market is going to go. No one does. But I always like to see, is the sentiment more negative as we're selling off, or are orders starting to accumulate to the positive side? Right now on SPY, it doesn't look like there is accumulation to the upside. Okay? It doesn't seem like it's there. Let's go over Qs. Qs is probably the main focus. You guys probably don't look at dark pool data on a daily basis. So I wanted to share with you guys just looking at it and interpreting the data as best as we can. I'm doing this live with you guys. So let's see what we get for dark pool prints from yesterday. This is interesting. Okay, this is really, really interesting. Right now on your screen, what you're seeing is Q's resistance between 510, 509, 509.90, all the way up to about 527. Okay, so we're trading at right now after hours. We're at about, did that just jump? Did we just have a jump here? We had a little jump. Okay. So back to the dark pool data here. We're coming up on the Qs, but just check out the dates. We had a huge amount of positive sentiment come in on the 21st, right? We didn't really have all that negative sentiment riding up all the way up to the 3rd of March. Okay. So the 21st, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, this is all long order sentiment. Is it a large amount? Because that's what you need to ask. It's not just about, is there pretty green lines here, pretty green bars? No, you have to know, is it a lot or is it a little? This is a lot of positive sentiment on Qs. It is. Does that mean that Qs are ready to bottom out? We don't know, but we're going to talk how to use this and how to translate it into maybe trading decisions going forward. All right. A little bit lower, it seems like we're kind of stacked on longs, right? You see prices and you see exactly where people took relative value, right? So you have a $50 million order here. You have a couple $50 million orders. So you have them close to at ask, at bid. If you traded for a little bit, you know what that means. Let's go to IWM because small caps are being obliterated, right? They're literally being wiped out. You crypto guys, crypto has been hurting. And I feel for you guys because, of course, just like all of you, we're just trying to make money here in the market and feed our families. So dark pool sentiment on IWM for the last, it looks like for the last about 7 to 8 days, it's been accumulating here to the long side. This is generally pretty typical. Okay, it really is pretty typical. Let's go to the last thing because I'm most interested in DIA. This is where I usually make a lot of money. That's it's not showing me here. Okay, so I don't have real-time data right now. So now let's go back to the chart and let's see exactly what this can translate to, right? So if you guys noticed, we didn't really have a lot of orders there. Let's check out the 1 hour time frame. We've already broken below support level at 513, and then we've traded back into the $500 level, which is where I was anticipating some sort of buyer showing up. So let me remove aftermarket data and check out my demand level for right now. So we did bounce off of a demand, right? Demand is $490. That's what it is. Let's use the voodoo line so you guys can get better context. I always like to give you guys context so you guys are very clever. You guys can come to your own conclusions, right? I'm just analyzing it and trying to take the market for what it is. So let's do this off of the daily time frame, and let's just check out very, very crude voodoo line levels. The voodoo lines are going to tell you support or resistance. We have support at $494. We also have support back down to $491.25. The fire line level is $485. Okay. For those of you in our Discord, for those of you that trade with me pretty consistently, 485 is the level that I've called out. Okay. So 485 is where I'm starting to see a little bit of deacceleration and then buyers starting to make some critical decisions on whether they're going to break into the 12 or 14% pullback territory or not. Let's give you guys even more context, right? Because everyone is crying bloody murder and thinking that we're going into a recession. More than likely, we're not hitting a recession. The market, the economy is just way too strong for us to be even considering recessions. Let's talk about the biggest pullback that we've seen all the way back to, it looks like July of 2018. No, that's not 2018. My bad. That's on the 4 hour. My bad. So most recent aggressive pullback was from 500 all the way back down to 523. So that's about a 15% pullback. That is a massive pullback. Let's give this a little bit more context. Right here, about 8% pullback. Let's see where we can get the biggest pullback areas. Right there, we got about 4%. Here, when we hit $540 for the first time, we got a pullback of about almost 6%. So our pullback range right now is about 9%. Right around the 9% territory. So what did I just call out? $484, right? Where does that put us from a percentage standpoint? That puts us roughly at the 10% mark. Around there, you can expect that you will start seeing at least some sort of reaction. Okay, at least some sort of reaction. It looks like we are bouncing off right now. It seems like we have a little tiny bit of a bounce right now in the market. I think the worst is over. Okay. The Band-Aid has basically been ripped off. What we are waiting for, in my opinion, as a trader, as someone that does this every single day, what I am waiting for is how the feds are going to react and if they are going to comment off of the 25% tariffs. Whether you have an opinion, if tariffs are a good thing, if you're on the left side or the right side of the spectrum, it doesn't really matter, right? When you're trading, all your biggest concern is interpreting the data to see what direction it is you're looking to go. So I don't see a negative reaction, at least not a violent one, out of China. I do not see a violent reaction out of Mexico, right? I don't see it. I don't see a violent reaction there. Are we trading lower? We have been trading lower on Mexico forever. So all the buildup for the tariff situation has already happened. So what the feds do next ultimately is going to be a guiding North Star for where price action can possibly take us. So translating that into possible levels, stop depending on technical analysis right now, right? A lot of you are sometimes coming on sessions like this and you're thinking, just give me the levels so I can take the trade and go from there. That is not how you need to think, right? I urge you, by my experience, to not think that way. What I'm going to urge you is just monitor overall sentiment in the market. There is extreme fear in the market, extreme, right? If you look at the fear greed index, it's on the extreme side. We can look at that actually right now. Let's do that. We'll take a look at that right now. Let's use CNN. We're in extreme fear territory. What does this historically mean? Okay, historically, this means that this is probably one of the areas where you want to start considering picking up some shares. The shares that I like, which I will share, but I won't give you context for levels because I don't want any of you to be making decisions just because I point out a level. Remember what I just said. It's not about a specific level. It's not about Apple hitting 200 and you buying $100,000 worth of shares. You have to pay attention to market internals. It is not about technical analysis right now. It really is not. But probably number one, where I'm looking to pick up some shares, is going to be TECL. All right. I'm looking at this pretty aggressively. I want TECL a little bit lower, but I think this is going to be fairly decent risk reward. Another area where I'm looking to pick up some shares is going to be Google. Those of you that have been following me, you know what I want to do with Google, okay? You know very well what I want to do with Google. I'm waiting for approximately 160 to 165. I'll give you that 5-point range, and I would love to pick up some shares, okay? Microsoft is another. Microsoft is going for that $380 level. We're very close to it. This might be the bottom right here. I don't know. Microsoft and Google, as well as IBM, those are your three most important stocks for quantum computing. They are the most important. IBM is actually the front runner when it comes to this. Has anyone noticed the price action on IBM? IBM is rock solid. They have rock solid fundamentals. Another rock solid fundamentals that has nothing to do with quantum, but it's Target. I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but Target actually has rock solid fundamentals, right? I mean, there's really no questioning that. If you understand fundamental analysis, they actually are doing quite well, right? We're going to see today after earnings exactly where price action wants to go. NVIDIA had historic earnings recently, and they just fell off. They ripped off the face of the earth here by a large margin. Okay, so NVIDIA hit, I forget how many billions of dollars they hit, but from earnings, they sold off almost 20%. Okay, so fundamental analysis and even technical analysis is not going to help you right now. What is going to help you is you sitting tight and waiting for the fear and greed index to be even more maxed out. But this is generally where if you can keep your emotions in check, generally, this is generally where you want to start picking up shares on some of your favorite companies. My favorite companies are just like your favorite companies. I do have a couple trades up my sleeve, but I want to share that with the group. But collectively, it's going to be Google, okay? It really is going to be Google. Do I want to pick up more shares of AMD? I'm hurting on AMD. I want to be completely transparent. I am hurting on AMD. It is really burning a hole through my portfolio and the portfolio of several brave souls that are in this with me. AMD is a rock solid company. You may have disagreements with me on this. That's okay if you disagree, but they are fundamentally a rock solid company. I will be buying up more shares. I am just waiting, not for technical analysis, but I'm waiting for sentiment to change on AMD. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for me so far? Some of you guys are more than likely going to ask me about coin and more than likely going to ask me about just some other stocks you're interested in. That's okay. You guys can do that now. I've gone through what I wanted to go through. Just one more thing. As you guys type your questions or you send me your stocks to go over, I want to go over IWM. Just give me 30 seconds and I'll do this top and bottom. We've given up the 200-day moving average off the daily time frame. We've given that up by almost 6%. Okay. I'm highly interested in IWM around 203. Your demand level is at 198. If we put on a Fibonacci here, right? Most of you know what Fibonacci's are. We're going to do it at the start of the run from this candle off the 200-day moving average, and we're going to take it all the way up to that shadow. So if we're looking to trade off fibs, the support level was 215. We also have another support level down at 206. You have a one-to-one relationship here back down to 197. What does that translate to on the voodoo lines? Let's see if that lines up. Voodoo lines take you all the way back down to 198. So 197, it's the same thing. Okay, it's literally the same thing. So what are we looking for on IWM? I'm waiting for that gap fill back down to 203. Okay, 202, 203. And then more than likely, I am sufficiently satisfied with attempting a long, but I love this at the $200 level. That is going to be such a psychological level to take this long. and you have all the risk reward to the upside, in my opinion. Okay, those are all my opinions right now. Let's go over Baba. That's what I'm seeing immediately. Alibaba right now, depending on where you are on the side of this, a lot of you are saying Alibaba is the strongest stock in the American market that is external, right? This is an international stock. You're all very well aware. I am short Alibaba at this point in time. I've been short on Alibaba since 142. In my opinion, if you are going to trade fibs on this, the fibs tell you that we pull back to 120 and then about 105. At 120 or 105, I evaluate this further, and then I look to take a long. I would not do a long here. This is not the area to do that. In my opinion, you trade back down sub 120, which I think is imminent. On the daily time frame, just looking at fibs and looking at retracement levels, all of you should be using fibs, every single one of you. Okay, they are a very significant indicator, and they're not that hard to figure out how to draw. You guys can there's YouTube videos that spend 3 hours of your time and learn how to use Fibonacci's. You'll not regret it, right? It is substantial just to know where these pullback areas are. I'm telling you they're 120 and then approximately 105. That's what I would wait for a retracement level, right? What else we got, guys? ASML. Okay, ASML is interesting. ASML has a support level right here at 660. I don't think you should be touching semiconductors right now. Semiconductors, and I'm a semiconductor person. Okay, there's no one more bullish on semiconductors than me. I wouldn't touch ASML until we get back down to 660. I understand how they are structured. I understand that for infrastructure, they're basically one of, if not the only company that can produce the chips that they produce. I get that. There is a little bit of monopolization when it comes to ASML. That's why they're not falling as much as some of these other stocks, right? You got to recognize that's you're not going to be taught that on the chart. You have to do some due diligence in order for you to understand things like that. You're probably asking me because you're on the 200-day moving average on the weekly time frame. So what do we got in terms of support? You got between $580 all the way up to about $620. Those are your considerations for you to take a long, either to buy shares, but ASML has held quite well, provided the environment. So on the shorter time frames for the 4 hour, as you can see, I have 660 right here. I don't touch it until it hits 660 or a little bit lower. I don't want to touch anything semiconductor related. There have been a few people that have reached out and told me to buy into Dell. Dell is rock solid. It really, really is. But I don't touch it until it hits 90 or about $85. It needs to fill this gap that it had from earnings all the way back in February. I don't want anything to do with it. I really don't want much to do with anything else aside from AMD or NVIDIA. Anything else semiconductor related, some of you have been reaching out to me to take SOXL. No. SOXL, in my opinion, has a retracement back to $18, and then it's looking for the gap filled all the way back to 16. Okay, we're $4 away from that target area. I don't see, and I'm not anticipating, a positive shift for the market conditions right now. Right, I'm not anticipating POTUS to let go of anything. POTUS has just announced that he's going to pause some fund redirection into Ukraine. Right, we saw the whole ordeal where there was an entanglement there with POTUS and the current president, sitting president of Ukraine. Is that significant for the stock market? I don't know, but the tariff situation is. It is very significant. So what we're doing, or what we're seeing, is front-running price action all the way leading up to the announcement today. Now we have tariffs on, they're 25%. So the next thing that we have to look forward to is what the feds are going to say about the tariff situation. There's no official statement quite yet. Okay, so am I anticipating more downside? I am. I definitely am anticipating. All right. Any additional questions from you guys? I did do NVIDIA. I spent a little bit of time on NVIDIA for the earlier part of the session. So I'm going to give other people a chance. Let's talk about SoFi. There is a person in our group that wanted to get into SoFi at $14.90. I told that person no. The reason why I said no to SoFi is because you got to apply the fib strategy here. The fib strategy takes you down to $10.50, which is exactly what I said to this person. This person is named Andrew, okay? I don't know if Andrew's on the session or not. But Andrew, if you're listening, exactly what I told you to make sure that I'm consistent here is you got to wait for $10.50. This is your retracement area. That's your golden area. Anything lower than that takes you to about $8. Please do not tell me that SoFi cannot hit back down to $8. Do not be that person, right? Do not trade that way. Do not think that way. Always consider what is the worst case scenario and then add an additional 50% to that. Never be the person, ever. This is just trading wisdom that I want to impart to you guys. Don't ever be the person that says it can never reach that level, because the stock can always reach lower levels. So SoFi, for a good risk reward trade, you want to wait for that 200, okay? Specifically the 200 EMA. You wait for that. It's about $10, and then you have a good risk reward trade, all right? That's what I'm going to say there on SoFi. Does anyone have any other additional questions or stocks? Can you watch this on YouTube? Yes, I am starting to film these sessions. So these will be uploaded to YouTube. I'm going to try to upload them for the same day. So this way, it's a little bit more relevant to you guys. You can watch at 2x speed, right? Because for some of you guys, I speak too slowly. I want to always be conscious of the other people that don't have English as their first language. So I like to be clear and concise. But yes, these will start being uploaded to YouTube. All right, what else we got, guys? SMCI. All right. I have about another 5 minutes. So what are we looking at on SMCI? I am short SMCI like you wouldn't believe. I took a short SMCI position at $55. Okay, I'm still short it. SMCI has a gap fill back down to $29, so I wouldn't do anything with it. I would highly recommend that you not touch SMCI for the time being. If you want to know exactly where the retracement levels are, that's what you should be thinking. Whenever you ask me a question, you always have to think, Sage is going to tell me about the retracement levels. What is the retracement zone that we broke below? We broke below the golden ratio. So the next area of possible support is $34. That's what it is. All right. And then the gap fill, this is obvious, but it's $29. So don't touch SMCI, brother. SMCI is not something that you want to go for, at least not right now. You want to touch anything crypto related when you see Bitcoin bouncing and not giving up 11, 12%, which is what it did yesterday. So wait a little bit. For you crypto people, I'm not a crypto person, but I am waiting for Ethereum. I'm waiting for that right here. So I gave two targets. I said about 2,300. My second target is here at 2,000. And then my third target is 1,600. At around these areas, it makes sense that anyone holding crypto, anyone holding coins, I know a lot of you are interested in XRP. I'm not interested in XRP at all, but I am interested in ETH. I would wait just a tiny little bit before you start jumping into SMCI, MSTR, Coin, any of those. Watch the major coins first. Watch Bitcoin and watch Ethereum first. Let those start showing some support, and then you can look to buy into your equities, in my opinion. So SMCI is going to be a very big no for me. Okay, huge no for me. Everyone's good? Everyone's okay? Okay. I like to do this at the end of the session because I don't like feeling like I'm talking to myself. But if you guys found today's session informative, not just informative, but also educational, where you actually learned something. You weren't just listening to me going over my opinions about stocks and then you blow over my opinion, right? Because you just got to listen to people's opinion and you have to be self-critical. You have to always say, okay, I'm seeing what this person's opinion is, but I'm not going to take it as definitive, or there's no absolution when it comes to this. There's no absolution when it comes to trading. I like getting feedback from these sessions because we're always looking to improve. If you found today's session informative and educative, please give me a thumbs up. If you did not, it's okay to give me a thumbs down. You can give me a middle finger. That's okay. You can give me an X. That's perfectly fine. I like to take both constructive and critical criticism. All right. So you can be critical of us, which is perfectly fine. But we want to know what the feedback is for you guys so we can always delve into topics that are interesting to you. All right. So let me know in the chat. I'm going to look over in the chat here in just a second. I'm sure there's going to be a couple middle fingers there, and that's okay. That's totally fine. Let's see if we're bouncing off of the indexes thus far. You know, probably what I should bring up as well is the VIX. The VIX is trading at $24. So those of you that don't have experience in the market, you should be careful. This is about the zero cross line on the VIX right now. It's about 25, right? So if you've been trading for more than 5 years, the 25 level on the VIX has always been significant. When we're talking about the VIX sustaining any particular level, just check this out. It generally does not sustain above 25. When you're in major volatility, you're at about 35 on the VIX. It will not sustain above 35. If we do start trading into the 30 to about 32 territory, this is where I start getting aggressive with my long positions, specifically on the indexes. If you guys are studious about what you're doing, the VIX is one of the major barometers in the market. So right now, we're on the lower level of the territory. Okay, so lower level of the territory. Trading back up into 30 to 35, as you can see. I want to prove this to you guys. Maybe I'll put this on YouTube. This is one of my little secrets. It's kind of a secret. It's kind of not a secret. They're just my observations, but you never sustain 35 on the VIX for long periods of time. Keep that in mind, okay? All right, everyone. This is all I have for today. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you guys in the Discord and for next session on Thursday. Take care, everyone.